She's actually
assistant now, 75% of people that come out of her house because of the falls.
And he says, I don't want to receive that. So all the kids think that's it. It's one not little. It's small, of course.
Yeah, it's her mom's.
Okay. Gas station.
all right.
So he'll be
How come it's the oldest ones that are causing the most trouble back there?
I resemble that remark.
The chatterboxes over there. Okay. Come on in. Very good. I have, there's the curve sheet right in front of you. I have a couple of announcements that we should take care of on the back. Okay, in the back of your prayer sheet. I'm supposed to do this at the end, but whatever. Under health and personal requests, the first one we talked about, and the second one we talked about. Pastor mentioned that. Please remember it. And then third, we talked about that one. Erica's grandmother. What's going on there? Hospice.
She has throat cancer.
Okay.
And she is very, very weak. I mean, we were going to see her Monday, we were going to see her Sunday, but she asked us to reschedule because she was just too tired. So we're hoping to go up this Saturday.
Yeah, real good. Hey, Tim? Jim? Could you get them? Yeah. Thanks. Okay, very good. Remember Jason, too. That poor guy. I don't know what, he doesn't know what, no one knows what he has. And it's just really nailing. So, you know, keep that.
You should have locked the door.
We weren't trying. No. Erica, you got in okay, but that one next to you, we were worried about that one a little bit. Okay, very good. Okay, so, you know, use this tonight. One other thing, too. Our church is doing okay. We are managing with what we are doing. But our people are tired. I don't know how else to say it. Our people are tired. They're doing a lot of work. And the ones that are working and serving you guys, serving us, are really serving us. So there are some little things that we can do to make their life easier and better. So it's sort of like, I'm just going to share some housekeeping things with you. You know, once in a while, it's just good to remind ourselves. We have a nursery. The nursery runs very carefully, very safely, but the nursery workers are in a very tight pool of rotating in and out, and they do a lot of work back there. You can be a real blessing to them after you're finished praying to get your children and then go and fellowship. Catch the order there? That's real important. So it relieves them, and you'll have your kids, and you've had a break, and now it's back to the grind, but you can have your kids with you while you're fellowshipping. So please help us with that. That would be really good. And also, we've given a lot of room in the back side of the auditorium. That's where the kids are playing in it. That's where we'd like to keep them playing, either there or outside. And if they're outside, somebody should be watching. This isn't Dorothy's Day, if you know what I'm saying. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. From what? From what show? The Wizard of Oz. Oh. Anyway, sort of keep your eyes on the kids, and they're, you know, they're yours, and God bless you with them, so take care of them. You're doing it, but, you know, be timely. That would be good. So pick up your kids. That would be a real blessing to them. Keep them back in the back playing. That would be a blessing to them. And just remember now, we're teaching them to minister. And we have people coming into our church, and we've had a lot of visitors lately, praise the Lord. But we get someone from high church that's really looking for something like salvation. And it would be wrong for us to turn them off, because we are treating our facility more like a gym than a place to meet with God. And that's some of the tension that we have when we don't have an auditorium or a gymnasium, what a lot of churches do. But we're using that for double duty. Keep the front part as the sanctuary and the back part as the fellowship area. And that will be a real good thing for the church, for those coming in. And if we start making that our routine, it gets to be a habit, and it's a good habit, and that will minister to a whole lot of people. I'm done with housekeeping rules for today. Father, would you bless us, please, as we study the Word? We're into an area that's it's going to be very, very important that we not just blow it off because it's a story we're familiar with, but that we learn truths from it, that we can pass them on to our children, that we can embrace them ourselves. This is a day that these problems surface and remedies are always at hand in Christ. So we ask you to bless us in Jesus' name. Amen. So, well, I have one more thing, too, I was going to do. I don't know when I'm going to get to this, but I'm going to try. I'm talking to Pastor, and I'm going to try and do like a side gig. I'm starting a Bible study, like a discipleship program in the morning with a couple of our new visitors. And one of the other things I want to do is work with a budget and teach people some biblical truths about stewardship. And so, you know, this is out of the book is in our bookstore. If you want to really get it, you don't need to, but if you want to, you can. But this deals with sources of income, and it talks about how much money we have, and then it goes on and gives an example here by week, so it's totally monthly. It's a monthly look at how we spend our money. You know, the truth is, if you show me your checkbook, I'll tell you what you love. I'll tell you where your heart is. You show me your checkbook, I'll tell you where your heart is. And it's biblical, by the way. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Right? Christ said that, not me. But anyway, I want to get this going. If that's something that interests you, you know, come and see me or see me afterwards. But managing the resources that God allows us, and I don't agree with everything Ramsey does, but Ramsey has some good basic truths that he's pulled out of scriptures from stewardship principles. And, you know, again, he's not all my cup of tea, but where he's good, we might as well at least consider it, right? And he can advance us. So this is available. If you have an interest, see me, and we'll see if we can't set something up. That's.
So can you clarify? You're saying your Bible study is discipleship, or it is budgeting, or it's budgeting within the discipleship?
Two different things.
Two different things.
Yeah.
Oh.
One is New Converts Bible Study.
Okay.
I'm doing that 7:30 tomorrow morning. I'll be doing that. And I'll be doing it at 7:30 on the 8th, and on the 18th, and on the 28th. Those are the only days I have open this month because everything else I'm on the road. see a lot of, we don't lay out a real good progression. So we're going to do that. Now this is something totally different. This would be specific on how
So
do
you're
we.
saying a different Bible
Yeah,
study.
it would be a
possibly on
different
that.
Bible study, right? And it's specific to how do we set up a budget? How do we use the resources that God has allowed us? How are we going to be the best servants? So that's what that's about. And this is what I'm going to do, and it will take probably a few weeks to go through it. But it's sort of like a small topic, and that's it. And we can make it whenever it's good for everybody. Okay? Judges chapter 13. Now, I know you hate it when I erase my artwork, but I want to show you a little bit about it. I'll just describe it. No, I won't. I'll show you. Okay. That's mine. I can erase it. I'm not interested. Okay, put it up again. Okay, so, yeah, you feel that. I don't want to do that. Okay, you get the small scale. So I'll just sneak it in here. So whenever we talk about Israel, we try to make a map. It always starts out along the Mediterranean Sea. Mount Carmel is usually the place that is very notable. So we come down out of Lebanon, and then up here there's this little hook, and that's Mount Carmel, and then it comes down like this into Egypt. At Mount Carmel, and the reason that I'm doing this, again, I'm trying to mix some geography and give you some orientation here. But this is Mount Carmel. And it's interesting, this is where Elijah with the prophets of Baal, all that happened up there. Right over here, this is the Valley of Esdraelon, it's called. What is going to happen there? There's something that's going to happen, a future event. Starts with an A. Armageddon. This is where Armageddon's going to happen. And you have Nazareth up here, and typically this dumps right into the Sea of Galilee right here. And the Sea of Galilee has headwaters, and there's a little lake up in here that seldom do we talk about. But I'm drawing it because there's another location I'm going to show you today. Out of the Sea of Galilee flows the Jordan River. The Jordan River, it's 70 miles from there to the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is sort of like that. It looks like a kidney. But the Jordan River actually meanders back and forth about 200 miles. So 70 miles distance, 200 miles meandering back and forth. And this is extremely fertile ground. But on both sides of this are mountains. This is about 1,200 feet below sea level. It's an amazing place. If you ever get to go there, it's amazing. You got to go into the Dead Sea if you ever get there. But you don't want to get that water in your eyes. It's just very, very salty. It will burn you terrible. But you can't go under. So I don't care how bad you swim, you can't go under. It just buoys you up, you know? So anyway, so why am I telling you all this? Okay, here's where the children of Israel go into the land. They cross Jordan. Here's where Jericho is. Ai, the next book, this is Joshua. Ai would be up here, Gilgal would be up here. Ai would be here. Bethel would be in this area. So whenever you talk about those, Jordan, Gilgal, Ai, Bethel, it's all right down here along the Jordan River, just north of the Dead Sea. Then you go up, literally up, elevation, to Jerusalem. Now remember, this is about 1,200 feet below sea level. Jerusalem is about 1,200 feet above sea level. So you have about 2,400 feet from the Jordan River up to Jerusalem, which sits right in about here. And that's a key area, key location. Bethlehem sits down here. Now, the area we're going to work with Sampson rather, is in this area here. It's well, we're going to be talking about Timnah. We're going to be talking about Eshcol. We're going to be talking about Zorah. So those are the cities, and that's going to be in this area right in here. And this is where all of this is located. The Philistines, typically the Philistines are controlling the coastline, and their empire was all the way up like this during the time of Sampson. And they were controlling Judah. And Judah, when we talk about Judah, that's down here. I've given you a lot of names, I'm sorry, but those are some of the players. Those are names you want to get familiar with. Those are areas that you want to learn if you're going to follow the narratives in Scripture. Okay, enough of the geography. Let's talk about the man Sampson. Sampson was probably the manifestation of a lot of problems that are still going on today. What do you think I'm talking about? Problems that are still going on today. Well, first of all, Sampson was born to a couple. Manoah was his dad. His mom was barren. And the Lord came to them. Actually, an angel of the Lord came to her and said that you're going to have a son. Let's look at chapter 13, and it starts there. The children of Israel did evil again. Here's the cycle, remember? Here's the cycle of the judges. They did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines 40 years. So this was no small amount of time, and they're stuck under the tyranny of the Philistines. The Philistines would exact tribute from them. They would take their food sources. They were not friendly. Well, there was a certain man of Zoah. Now remember, that's in this area right here. And that will be about Zoah furthest to the east. Zoah, whose name, I'm sorry, the family of the Danites. I want to stop here. Dan, depending on the time block of your studies of the scriptures in the Old Testament, Dan had a small inheritance here, but ultimately moved up north, and they would be up here. When you hear the term from Dan to Beersheba in the scriptures, it's talking about the whole distance of the land. Do you see that? So it's talking about all of this. And that's the typical description of the length of Israel and the possession. So here he is again, the Danites, who was, his name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not. Verse 3, the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, behold, now thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee. Drink not wine nor strong drink, eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God in the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. So it's been prophesied now. The prophetic utterance of the angel of the Lord says, guess what? Your son's going to be, basically, he's going to be the judge, that leadership position. And he is going to be the one to lead Israel out from underneath the Philistines. That's a big deal. Now remember, when they did evil in the sight of the Lord, all of this whole area, the Canaanites, the Philistines, they had some terrible worship. Matter of fact, their worship was called what? What kind of worship did they typically do? There's two names that typically go with their worship. One starts with a B and one starts with an A. Oh, you're telling me, yeah? Baal is one. And Ashtoreth is the other. Very good. Very good, teacher. All right. child sacrifice to temple prostitution, and the sodomites and the temple prostitutes would work in that area. And it didn't stop in the Old Testament, by the way. When Paul was down in Corinth, I was just talking to my son Luke. He was doing some traveling over there, and he was up in Eastern Europe. And from there, he took a side trip down to Greece. He went to Athens, and he went down to Corinth. And we were talking about this, and he was telling me about the remains of the temple at Corinth are still there. And that was an extremely wicked place. When you read about some of the sins of Corinth that Paul writes about in 1st and 2nd Corinthians, all of that was taking place under the guise of religion. Now that's important for you to understand. You guys, if you want something, if you want to do sin, you can find a religion out there that's going to let you do it. And yeah. Any of you men crazy enough to have 2 or 3 wives? Oh, it's doable. I don't know why you'd want to do that. I don't know what woman would want to do it. Managing one's hard enough on both sides of that equation. But anyway, whatever it is, I mean, it's out there. I'm amazed at how those that would call themselves Christians can enough of that. I got to keep moving. So here he is. She's going to have a baby. No razor will touch his head. He'll be a Nazarite from the womb, which is very different. Then the woman came and told her husband, man of God came to me. His countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God. Very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. But he said unto me, behold, thou shalt conceive, bear a son, and go on. So Manoah, he makes a request of God to see this man. He comes back a second time to his wife, and then she goes and gets him, and he comes, and they talk, and there's a sacrifice made, and the angel of the Lord goes up in the fire of the burnt offering. They are concerned that they are going to die because they've seen, quote unquote, they've seen God. And Manoah's wife says, if that was the case, why would they do that? So she reasons with him, and on they go. Sure enough, they have a child, and his name is Sampson. Sampson grows older, and we pick up the narrative in chapter 14. Samson's birth is the end of chapter 13. The woman bare a son, called his name Sampson. The child grew. The Lord blessed him. The Spirit, and let me talk about this for a second. This is, when you're reading the Old Testament, you'll see this phrase in a couple of places that are very obvious. The Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan between Zoah and Eshcol. So he's in this area, and this is where Samson is going. Between here and here, these first two to the east. This is going to be Timnath, where he's going to, that's coming up later. Now, what I want to bring to your attention is this. Look at verse 25. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan. The Spirit of the Lord in the Old Testament has some very interesting, it's very interesting how the Spirit works in the Old Testament. Now, what am I talking about? Does anyone have an idea? And there's a difference in the way that the Spirit of God worked in the Old Testament versus the way the Spirit of God worked in the New Testament.
Are you talking about dispensationalism?
Well, that's part of dispensationalism, yeah. Yeah. But what's the difference? What's the difference? What's the difference in the Spirit of God in the Old Testament, Spirit of God in the New Testament? What does he do different? Yeah?
It's more of like he's hinting towards what will come.
That's not what I was looking for, but I mean, part of his work is to teach us. That's part of it.
Is it that he works with one person in the Old
verse 11. So David is talking. This is his penitent song of David, okay, after the sin with Bathsheba. And he says this, cast me not away from thy presence, and here's the phrase I'm looking for, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. What's that all about?
It's conditional.
Okay, I think in a broad sense, yes.
Get a special anointing.
That's where I'm going with this. Good.
For a specific purpose.
Yeah. The Spirit of God came upon them. We would call it, in David's case, we would call it the theocratic anointing. So God's Spirit came upon people, but it could leave people. Do you know an example where that happened? Saul. Exactly. Yeah, that's the perfect example. So the Spirit of God in the Old Testament would come upon and could leave. Yeah.
Was it when somebody was willing to do his will, let him be their guide and not themselves?
I'm sure there was spirit activity there, Javier, but in the New Testament, something different happened. In the New Testament, when the church started, if you believe the church started in Acts chapter 2, that's where I put it, but whatever, there's debate on it. I'm not going to break fellowship over it. Something happened there. What happened in Acts chapter 2 with the Spirit of God? Do you remember?
Spirit of God came in Pentecost,
Yeah. And there was a specific activity that happened, and we see it in Acts 2, we see it in Acts 4, I think we see it in Acts 8. There's something that's going on in the early church that's sort of...
Baptism, Holy Spirit.
Yes, but I want an easier term. Okay. Indwelling. Okay? Let me show it to you. It's called 2 Corinthians chapter 5. It's called something else. And I want to show this to you because there's a clear difference between Old Testament and New Testament with the activity of the Spirit of God. Same Spirit, but in the Old Testament it came upon, and in the New Testament he indwells. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Okay. Verse 5. Now he that hath wrought us for the selfsame thing is God. It's talking about we're going to die, we're going to go to heaven. It starts out with this whole idea of looking at death and the eternal state for the believer. And that's the context. And he goes into verse 5. Now he that hath wrought us for the selfsame thing is God, who also hath given unto us the earnest of the Spirit. Now that earnest of the Spirit is the indwelling of the Spirit. It's sort of like if you were going to go and buy a house, what's the first thing they ask for? You find a house of your dreams, and you have a lot of money in your pocket. What's the first thing you do? When you see the house, it's for sale, the realtor brings you there, and what does that realtor ask for? A deposit, a down payment, an earnest. That's what it's called, an earnest. So that's what the word means in the New Testament. In the New Testament, when we get saved, we get the Spirit of God. We get all the Spirit of God we're going to get. Now, whether we get in His way or get out of His way is going to determine how much we walk in the Spirit or hinder the Spirit. And we can do either. Now, Old Testament, back in Judges, we see that the Spirit of God has this different activity. He's coming upon people, and especially those in leadership, to give them special insight. And in Samson's case, what's he going to give Samson? Strength. This is an amazing manifestation of the Spirit of God in Samson's life. Very unusual. Very, very unusual. So anyway, So in verse 1, Sampson, and I think this is sort of an interesting thing. It's a lesson we need to learn. And Sampson went down to Timnath. So, okay, he's over here. He goes down to Timnath. So it's elevation. When it says go down, it typically talks to go down in elevation. It's lower in elevation. And he saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now, there's a very important word in this verse. Sampson, he saw. He saw. Now, keep that in mind, because Sampson has a problem. Sampson allows his eyes to wander. Samson allows his eyes to take him to places that he shouldn't go. Matter of fact, he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife. Now what's the big deal with that? Yeah.
Philistines are against God.
Yeah? Okay. And what about being for God? What do we have on that side of the equation? Deuteronomy 6, remember that part about teaching your kids and everything? And when God gives them lands they didn't earn and food they didn't plant and all that, and when your hearts be lifted up, don't forget God. And it goes on and talks about not marrying of the peoples of the land. And we can see that even before Deuteronomy 6, there was one issue really, really bad. What happened at Baal Peor? Do you remember? Baal Peor.
Is that when they were getting cursed? Or was that
Baal was the one that was hired to curse Israel. That's correct. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. God wouldn't let him. But then he did something else. And it happened at Baal Peor.
He told them to go get drunk and
Not so much in the alcohol as much as it was something else. That's when the women came into camp. And that's when they were taking the women and they just lost all their morality. And one of the priest's sons ended up taking a javelin. Do you remember that? I mean, that's really an amazing story.
Went through both of them.
Went through both of them, that's right. Yeah, went through both of them. And it stayed the judgment. It stopped the judgment. It stopped that activity too. I'm going to put up with it. But there again, that's that the eyes led them. The lusts led them. And that was the way they went away from God. I'm going to make a deal out of this. And if I can only make a deal out of this and tell you the end of the story, I'm still ahead of the game. Still accomplish what I want to accomplish. Let me read just a little bit farther. His mother and father said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take away for the uncircumcised Philistines? Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well. His eyes were. Don't underestimate young men, especially. Don't underestimate where your eyes can take you. Don't underestimate it. Well, I wouldn't do that. Yes, you would. Solomon says that us guys can be really stupid in a weak moment. Remember, we're only one decision away from stupid. And what's he like? He says, we're bought by a piece of bread in Proverbs. That's all it takes. The wrong moment, the wrong vision, the wrong look. David with Bathsheba, when he should have been out to war, he was peeking at his neighbor's wife. And that's all it takes. were to raise my 3 sons right now, in the day and age we live in, they would carry a phone, but it wouldn't be one of these. It would be an old flip phone that they could call and they could text, but they couldn't view. This thing right here is a tremendously good tool, and it houses tremendous evil, wickedness, and talk about, oh, you're on, it doesn't take much, and our culture is so debased that it has apps that people think that they can get away with things that they can't get away with. It's really, really a bad thing. Oh, but everybody has a phone. Everybody has a smartphone. No, everybody doesn't have a smartphone. Yeah, but I don't know how I could live if I don't have my phone. I hate it. Yeah, I came up through an age where, the only phones they had was Dick Tracy in the comic books with, remember that? Any of you old enough? You're old enough. Yeah. What are you laughing at? You're old enough too. Dick Tracy. Yeah. Anyway, just really, really bad stuff. Okay, let's go on. So his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord. So God was actually allowing this to happen in the background. Then he saw an occasion against the Philistines. For that time, the Philistines had dominion over Israel. So there's that dominion aspect watching over. So Samson goes, kills a lion. He's going to go marry this gal in Timnath. And the people, the acquaintances that were going to stand up or go to the wedding or whatever, he laid out a riddle and gave him a week to figure it out. And if you watch, let's see, the riddle was down to 15. Let's go down to 15. It came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have you called us to take that we have? Is it not so? So Samson's wife wept before him and said, thou dost but hate me and love me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people and hast not told it me. He said unto her, behold, I have not told it my father or my mother, and shall I tell thee? So basically, she's going to nag. She's going to cry. She's going to make up all these stories. Oh, you don't love me anymore, and if you love me, you would do this. Does that line sound familiar? I want to tell you something. That line is still very popular today, and it's without gender. Anyone can do it. Guys do it all the time. If you love me, you would do. This is right out of the abyss, folks, and it's not new. Let the standard be the Word of God. So anyway, he goes, they tell him the riddle, and then he has to settle up with them. So he goes down to, where is it, Gath? Is that where he went? Ashkelon, I'm sorry, yeah, verse 19. Ashkelon, he slays 30 men, takes their spoil, gives the garments and all that, settles up with his kindred, and went up to his father's house. Samson's wife is given to his companion, whom he adheres as his friend. Well, that's not new either, is it? Boy, what? They're sold so easy. And then it comes to pass that there's all kinds of agitation going on with this stuff. Samson takes revenge, and the people come and they kill this gal and her father's house. He lights up the fields and all that. Takes revenge, kills her, kills his wife and her companion and her father's house, wipes them out. And then, 20 years later, verse 15, came to pass within a while after, in the time of the wheat harvest, Samson visited his wife with a kid, and he said, I'll go to my wife into the chamber, but her father would not allow him. This is where he gave him. This is where he finds out. He burns the cornfields, and then his wife is killed in verse 6, and then Samson goes and kills the Philistines. He just goes and just kills them. He has a great slaughter, it says. He went down and dwelt at the top of the rock, Etam. So now, Philistines are ticked off at Israel. They get up. They want Samson, so they go march after him. And Israel comes in here. Why are you coming to us? Well, this Samson guy just destroyed our fields. Well, we'll go get him. So 3,000 Israelites go to get Samson. And Samson lets them tie him up, but he says, you can't kill me. He takes him, delivers him to the Philistines. They think they have him. The Spirit of God comes upon him, gives him tremendous strength, and he wipes them out. So now I think is where this 20 year happens. The trip to Ashkelon and the 30 year slain. I did that. His wife is given to his friends. Did that. His revenge. The second issue with the Philistines, chapter 15, and that's happened. He finally ends up going to Gaza, chapter 16. And he saw there a harlot. Once again, his eyes are not controlled. I don't know. I don't know how much to emphasize this, but I'm going to. I should have been praying by now, but I think this is important enough to sort of linger here for a moment. Right now, according to the polls and according to the surveys that are taken among evangelicals, quote unquote, there is a huge percentage of evangelicals involved in pornography. Say, well, those guys, what a shame. Well, it's girls too. It used to be something that they would have in bookstores under the shelf and hidden, tucked away for dirty old men. Now, it's very, very available and very, very accessible and very, very frequented. Folks, your eyes, they will lead you to places that you shouldn't go. Guard your eyes. It's the gateway to activity that you should not be involved in. Girls, guard your eyes. It's not just what you see. It's not the cute guy or the hunk or whatever in the world you call them. I don't know. They call me, we were laughing. We went to the swim meet last night. And I said, yeah, if I got in the water, they'd have to sound the beluga alert, you know? It's more than what you see. It's what they are. And you gotta get there. And you gotta stay there. Because if you don't, you are going to be in a lot of trouble. You are going to concede to things that you shouldn't concede to. That's chapter 16, verse 1. He goes there and once again, it's the Philistines think that they have him and they don't. He takes the gates of the city and carries them off this, again, superhuman strength. And then comes the issue with Delilah. And if you remember the story, it's very well known. I'm not going to go through it all. But I want to once again take you to what his eyes did. And Samson's eyes got him in trouble again. But you know what's almost ironic in the whole story of Samson? Go ahead.
Whenever we talk about Samson, the main picture I think of is like hitting chained to the two posts, and he's blinded with wraps in his eyes. And because he's so mad, he kills himself with them too.
Well, yeah, I'm not even sure of the anger. I think it was a repentant spirit that he asked God to destroy them. And so many were killed at the end, more so even than his life. But isn't it interesting? His eyes got him in trouble all the way through his life. And at the end, when they captured him, after Delilah found out that the power was in the hair, they sheared him. They his eyes out. He popped his eyes out. Well, I'll tell you what, he got rid of his lust problem, didn't he? But he also got rid of his life problem. I'll read one thing to you, and then we'll break for prayer. I'll have a few minutes for prayer. And I'm sorry, I went longer than I always do that. I wrote a quote down, a couple of quotes. I was looking at Swindoll. I like Swindoll is no evangelical. Don't do a lot of what he does, but he is a great writer. I really enjoy his writing. Anyway, he said this as far as Sampson. He says lust, and personifies lust as the jailer, binds, ties you up, blinds, and grinds. He ended up grinding wheat for the, remember that? When he was in the captivity before he was put between the columns. His eyes would never wander again. Proverbs, Solomon says it this way: can a man take fire to his bosom and not be burned? Proverbs 6:27. And he talks to his sons, Proverbs 7:5, that they may keep thee from the strange woman, from the stranger which flattereth with words. In chapter 5, let me see, where am I? The lips of a strange woman drop as honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. The commandment is a lamp, the law is light, reproof and instruction of the way, to keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. In Proverbs 5, rather, but her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword, her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. Proverbs 6:23, for by the means of a horsewoman, a man is brought to a piece of bread, and the adulteress will hurt for the precious life. Will hunt for the precious life. All the way through, Solomon's warning his son. I wonder if he's singing to Sampson. I wonder if he's singing to himself. I wonder if he's singing to David. Or I wonder if that's just good, straight wisdom from God. Watch your eyes. So what happens if I see something that I shouldn't look at? Turn away. Run. Flee. The problem with what you see is it makes an indelible mark in your head and too often in your heart. Don't get around it. Don't start it. Stay away from it. Flee. Don't. It will take you to places that you don't want to go. And it will give you things that you think you want, but aren't at all good. Stay away. I don't know how else to say it. Stay away. Yeah.
It makes me think of when Jesus says that the eyes are the lamp of the body, and whatever you put in the lamp, that's what will shine.
Yeah, you can't serve two masters in one of them, for sure. The eyes will look at one of them. Anyway, that's it. Father, bless us, please, with lessons from the Old Testament. Surely Sampson is a very strong lesson. If only we have the wisdom to learn it, we pray that you would teach us well and guard us against things that we shouldn't be involved in. Help us to love you more than we love sin. Help us to stay away from sin. It bites in the end. It hurts us and hurts others. We pray this in Jesus' name.